Hi everyone, this is Jamie Dragostea. I am so excited to be part of this journey with you, and welcome to this very first introductory training video on how to retake control of your body. And one of the things that I want to do is just start with the number one most important element. You know, when I went to college, one of the first classes that I took was a critical reading class. And I remember the professor saying, you know, have you ever gone through and you're reading a page and you come to a word that you don't know what the definition is, but you just keep reading anyways, and then you get to the bottom of the page and you realize, wait a sec, what just happened? And like, you don't even know what you just did, because when you hit that word, it's like your brain went on a skid. It just kind of started to spin in place and didn't really go any further. Well, if we were to do that in this diet without talking about this very critical component, the rest of the program would be very difficult to put into place. And so in 1903, there was a gentleman named James Allen who wrote a book, We Are What We Think About, or As a Man Think. And that really kind of started a revolution of human development, of the world of psychology, which is, you know, one of my passions, but also human development and spiritualism all started to really kind of do this heavy push into this idea of we are what we're thinking, or we are what we think about. Now, the reality is, this has been around for thousands of years. I mean, if you take some of history's greatest leaders, their political leaders, their religious leaders, and I'm talking hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, that they may have all had different dogmas or different belief systems or different career paths, but there was one thing that they all did agree upon, and that is we are what we think about. So the question is, how do we think? Well, George Bernard Shaw, who is a very famous author and playwright, he once wrote that 3% of the people think, 2% of the people think that they think, and 95% of the population would rather die than think. And when I heard that, I was like, whoa, people would rather die than think? This must be really tough business here. But the reality is as I've studied this for literally almost my entire life and was very passionate about it, even in grade school and junior high and high school and college and in my career, I've always been fascinated is, why do people do what they do? Why are they making that decision? Why are they doing this? Why do I see twin brothers coming from a similar household and they're very, very different? And that is because I always really wanted to know what they think. And so here we are. George Bernard Shaw is saying 95% of the people would rather die than think. And as I've really started to understand how we think, I can understand why he would say that, because a lot of people are never taught how the human mind thinks. So when you think, we think in pictures. Knowing that information, now what do we do with it? Well, let's build upon it. If I were to ask you to think of your vehicle, your favorite truck or your favorite car, you could close your eyes or keep your eyes open, but a picture of that vehicle will flash onto the screen of your mind. And watch how powerful this is. Picture yourself standing in your front door of your house or your apartment, and you can see the door frame, you can see the knob, and you turn the handle and you walk in. Well, you're thinking about this on the screen of your mind, and you're thinking in pictures. You're not thinking letters. Everything that would come up in the picture isn't letters or dots or symbols. Well, they are symbols, but we interpret that as a picture. You can literally see the picture. So in 1933, there was a gentleman, he was a chiropractor, and he had a problem, like we're having a problem. Like, okay, if we think in pictures, and we know that it's a picture that flashes onto the screen of our mind, and James's professor said if you hit a component that you don't really truly understand, everything gets foggy after that. So the word mind, what is mind? If I were to say, what does your mind look like? Most of us would think for a second, and then we'd say, well, it's our brain. Well, our brain is an organ in our body, but the brain is not the mind. So we would attach a picture that doesn't represent what it actually is. And so this gentleman, Dr. Thurman Fleet, he was a holistic doctor. And he didn't really like a lot of medical doctors because he thought they did a lot of treatment, even back in the 1930s, that really didn't need to happen. He felt that they were treating the symptoms of the disease or the illness rather than the cause of the sickness or the illness. And what he said is, look, I've been working with patients too, and I believe that 60 to 80% or more of all sickness, illness, and disease is caused in the mind. And you doctors are treating the symptoms, but you're never attacking the root cause. And by the way, a lot of medical doctors did not like him. In fact, he was even thrown into jail, I believe, because of his what were considered heretical views. Now, the reality is, fast forward to today, 2018 is when I'm recording this, and quite frankly, medical science now knows that a lot of sickness, illness, and disease is caused in the mind or by the mind, and that's where the root cause is. And so we have to have the ability to have an image of this. And what Dr. Thurman Fleet said, okay, look, since we know what how we think, and we think in pictures, we need a reference to what our mind looks like. So what he did is he drew an image. Now, it's very similar to this one, and I'm going to call this the magical graphic. And what he did is he said, I'm going to draw two circles. The big circle is going to represent our mind, because this is really who we are. This is part of our greatness, our grandness. And then I'm going to draw a smaller one. This is our body. I'm going to draw the arms and the legs, so you can do this. I'm going to draw a line in the middle of the mind. Now, I'm drawing the mind so much bigger than the body because the mind is really who we are, and the body is just a small fraction of this. Now, the interesting thing is about, through my process of losing weight, we become so focused on the body that everything becomes about the body, and we lose or are never taught from the beginning how the mind works, and therefore our bodies kind of get out of whack and we get into sickness, illness, and disease. Now, the line drawn through the big circle, or the mind, separates us into the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Okay? So we have conscious mind, subconscious mind. We're going to talk about these in just a second. Now, the conscious mind could also be known as your thinking mind. Your thinking mind. So we'll come back to that. And the subconscious mind could also be known as your emotional mind. So right now we have the big mind, and then we have two components: thinking mind, emotional mind. Now, in our emotional or in our conscious mind or our thinking mind, you choose your thoughts, and those thoughts are pictures. Okay, you end up coming and interpreting that as a picture eventually. Your thoughts sink down into your subconscious mind, or your subconscious body, if you will, or your emotional body, or your emotional mind, however we want to phrase that, and it causes feelings. And these feelings then are vibrations. You could be at a high vibration, a low vibration, which is you're excited or sad, but it represents itself in the physical body, and your feelings are expressed in all different types of actions. The actions of your environment around you, the actions that you take, and the actions that actually happen inside or on the outside of our body. And these actions produce our results. And obviously it's the results that we want to be able to change. That's why we want to, lose some weight, get healthier, and see, what we can do to improve our lifestyle. Now, let's review here. We have the mind and the body. We have the conscious mind. Now, again, this is your thinking mind. This is where we gather or collect information and compile it. But there are 5 areas that we're going to talk about that help us make decisions in our conscious minds. All right? we have our subconscious mind. Now, really, the subconscious mind is the power center. This is where those emotions lie. And these emotions are very, very important to our process of losing weight. Every thought your conscious mind chooses to accept, this part of your mind must accept. So the conscious mind has the ability to gather this information and accept that information, reject this information, or just let it sit there. But the subconscious mind can't. Whatever the conscious mind chooses to accept, the subconscious mind has no choice. It has no ability to reject it. It doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. And here's a quick little example. Have you ever been in one of those states where your dream is so real and it's so detailed that when you start to wake up, you're kind of in a daze. You don't really know what's going on, or you're able to actually kind of control what you're doing in the dream because it's so real. Well, this is your subconscious mind, and if your subconscious mind believes certain things, and you've heard kind of an example that I'll give you very quickly, is the placebo effect. You've heard of the placebo effect because it works in many cases. There are places where people have the ability to get themselves into a state where they can go through an operation with no anesthesia. This is the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind doesn't necessarily know if an event is real or imagined. Now, that's a very important key that we're going to really dive into as we go through this process. So it operates, however, in a very, very orderly manner. So even though it accepts everything that the conscious mind gives it, it takes it as just law. It takes it as, all right, orderly, orderly, orderly. And this is a key to the success of not only the law of attraction, but especially the healthy body weight loss journey that you're on. So let's learn how to do this and control this. Any thought repeatedly impressed on your subconscious mind will become a habit. All right. Now, we have 5 physical senses. The first one is our sight. We have the ability to see. We also have the ability to hear. We can smell, we can taste, and we can touch. Now, these are our 5 physical senses, and I'm also going to call them our lower senses, because I call them lower senses only because most animals have the ability to see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Some of their abilities are better than humans, a lot better than humans. But as far as we're concerned, on this picture of our mind, I'm drawing 5 old-fashioned TV antennae. These represent for me, when I think about this, my seeing is, as soon as my eyes are open, I'm just taking in all the different types of information that's around me. When I'm driving a car, obviously I'm checking for traffic. And you use these 5 senses constantly, and you use them all the time. So you're gathering data, you're making decisions, and that's why the conscious mind is also known as the thinking mind. Okay, so let's put a title to the antennae. Now, again, another term for the conscious mind is the intellectual mind. Now, I'm going to give you my definition of intelligence. Intelligence is the ability to overcome challenges or obstacles. I used to work with, most of my clients were people who had PhDs or doctorate degrees. They were very, 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 very smart men and women. They were very academic. But some of them weren't very intelligent. And the reason why they weren't intelligent is because they kept running into problems and they refused to address them, or they didn't know how to address them, and it caused major challenges in their life. And so in that one area, if they would have learned how to overcome or adapt to those challenges, to me, that's a good sign of intelligence. Now, on that same manner, you don't have to even go to school to be very intelligent, because you've heard of street smarts or streetwise. Well, that is your ability in your world where you're overcoming different challenges to figure out the problems using, your in this case so far, I'm just representing the 5 physical senses to change the way that you're viewing this and attack the challenge or address it in a different manner. So we have the intellectual mind, all right? Now, the first higher sense that we can now draw upon in addition to our 5 physical senses is perception. So what is perception? Perception definitely is one of our intellectual faculties. This is our point of view. When we see something that causes us to see something that can't be done, for example, we look at changing the perspective or the perception of the situation, and we formulate or originate or seek different input to develop an idea or an image, or how can this be done differently. Now, it is our perception of our world that actually ends up determining a lot of the decisions and the choices that we make. And sometimes if our perception is wrong, well, obviously that can cause a challenge that we have to now use our intelligence to overcome later on. So, perception, I think you get it. The next one is will. Now, will is not necessarily just willpower, like, I'm on a diet, so I'm not going to eat chocolate cake. That's not will. I guess that's a form of will, but that's not what I'm talking about. Will is your ability to focus and to concentrate. It's the ability to hold a picture on the screen of your mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. There's a great movie that I love it, and it's got Matt Damon in it, and not Matt Damon, Shia LaBeouf, and he's a golfer, and I think it's called The Greatest Game Ever Played. And in that, where he's golfing, it shows these golfers, these professional golfers, and they become so focused that they're trying to hit the ball down the fairway into the hole, and there's all these crowds of people, there's trees, there's obstacles, and the movie does a great scene where several scenes where it shows the actor or the character going into concentration mode, about ready to hit the ball, and all of a sudden everything dissolves around him. The people dissolve, the sound dissolves, and he gets so focused in there, and then just does this thing and hits the ball. Well, that's will. That's will. The ability to hold one picture on the screen of your mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. Now, this is something you have to practice on. You have to develop your will. It's innate within you, but it's like a muscle. If you want to make it stronger and you want the ability to focus and concentrate, you have to go through certain exercises, and I've got some incredible ones that are going to change your lives. Now, the next one is our imagination. Imagination creates fantasy. Fantasy is the first stage of creation. It's the first stage of the creation in life. The creative process spans through 3 stages that I'm going to get very heavy into. They are fantasy and theory and fact. It's very important for you to remember that without the aid of your imagination, there could be no creation in your life. Now think of that. Everything that's out there, that the chair that you're sitting in, the microphone that I'm recording in right now, the car that you drive, everything was once somebody's imagination. And there was a process that they went through to turn it into being able to be in your position and for you to take advantage of and use. Okay, now the next one is memory. Now, think about our memory as our memory really is perfect. There's no such thing as a bad memory. I kind of now chuckle inside myself when somebody says, "Oh, I just have a bad memory," because I know what they're doing to themselves. They really have a great memory, but they're developing neural pathways and developing habits and paradigms that make it so that they have a bad memory. There are only weak memories and strong memories. That's it. But there are exercises that you can do to strengthen your memory. Now, you may say, okay, Jamie, what does memory have to do with losing weight? Well, it has everything to do with it because it's part of the whole. It's part of the whole you. It's part of your intelligence. And it's part of your ability to take control of your body so that you can lose the weight that you want to or regain your health. Now, the next one is intuition. Now, it is with your intuition that you pick up on what I'm going to say is vibrations. You pick up on vibrations, and you translate those vibrations in your mind. Your intuition really permits you to know, and really to know that you know what's happening around you. One of my favorite authors, and a guy that I follow for a long time, is a guy named Wayne Dyer. And he said, and I love this, if prayer is us talking to God, intuition is God talking to us. And I believe that that is true. Now, we're going to get into where intuition comes from, how it works chemically in the body, how it works, how does your body interpret intuition, because intuition does become a very good, important, key component going forward in losing weight. It really does. It really, really does, and you're going to find out how. The choices that we end up making, and not just eating choices, or not just how we're taking care of our body, but you're just going to have to see how this plays into the whole here, because intuition really stems into a lifestyle choices that one makes. All right, so that statement will make a lot more sense as time goes on. And the last intellectual faculty that we have is reason, the ability to reason. Reason is what gives us that ability to think. Thinking is our highest function. Thinking is our highest function. So now we kind of know what George Bernard Shaw was talking about. It's the highest function. And the reason that most people don't do it is because they don't know how, number one. But number two, it takes a little bit of effort. Now, this is an effort where it's not necessarily physical effort, where this is a program like, okay, the answer is go jogging for 5 miles a day, drink water, and then have alfalfa leaf later in the day. No, it's nothing like that. All of those things are basically distractions. They are things that we're going to learn to be set up as fun if you choose that to be fun. But we are using our ability here in our highest function to get the physical results that we want in our lives. Now, all of those things, and believe me, I'm not saying, don't exercise, don't lift weights, don't do this or don't do this. I'm just saying we're going to help show you a path that you can find that you will stick to, number one, but that is built upon solid principles that have been around for thousands and thousands of years, that will not only allow you to become the physical you that you want to, but truly to become the incredible, loving, intellectual, brilliant, inspiring, I can accomplish anything you that you want. And I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how I did it. And you're going to be able to take bits and pieces that resonate with you and apply them to your life. Now, this is not a one-size-fits-all. There is no one program that will even work for two people, because those two people have little, even idiosyncrasies that make them unique. And so this has to be adapted to you, to your lifestyle, to your family, and make it work for you. All right, so that's the end of the introductory video of how do we think. So if you have any questions or comments, please email me. Now that you are all part of the closed group on Facebook, throw a question out there for the group, and let's answer that and talk about it and discuss that in an open forum. And I have the ability here to learn and to grow as much as all of you. The information and my experience that I'm going to share with you, you have just as much of an amazing journey that I'm looking forward to hearing from you, your thoughts, your opinions, and part of your journey and what really makes you you. All right, everyone, I appreciate it. We're going to end here with the intellectual mind, but just to kind of give you the last little component, remember that our subconscious mind is our emotional mind, so I'm hoping that you're feeling really good about this. This is a great start. Hopefully that vibration is starting to flow through your body. And again, email me back. Let me know that you watch this so that we can continue to develop and take control of your ideal body image.